Quick little thing about consciousness here. It's pertinent. This is a particular rant of mine. Consciousness cannot be altered in any way, shape, or form. Believe me, trust me on this. I was of a generation that spent years consuming every kind of psychedelic you could imagine, attempting to do just that, alter consciousness. It cannot, does not, will not ever occur. Meditation does not work. 45 years of meditation produces great effects. Don't get me wrong, meditation is cool, but it doesn't alter consciousness. There is nothing on this planet that will alter consciousness. And when you leave this planet, what happens is your consciousness withdraws and remains unaltered. Yeah, I mean, it's perpetual, it's there, it's the even strain that you always go back to. It is what houses your body, not the other way around. And this consciousness cannot be altered. It can't be raised, it can't be uplifted, it can't be crushed, it can't be in any way changed. It is the fundamental nature of the materium. It is the fundamental nature of the universe. Everything else builds upon consciousness. And consciousness is, as defined by the yogis, it is by the yogic community, by the indigenous population community all around the planet. Consciousness is the ever-flowing current that we are all part of, and that we all exist in and feed of and are. And so you cannot in any way change it. So the idea of someone running around just saying they're going to uplift your consciousness, they're going to raise you up, or in any kind of thing like that, is bogus. It's bullshit. It can't happen. What you can do is you can alter your awareness. Now, awareness, though, relates to the personality. So when you're taking the psychedelic drugs to try and alter your pain or change your relationship to your consciousness, which is conscious of your pain and your suffering, it will not alter the consciousness. It won't change any of that. What it will do is to alter the awareness you have of your consciousness. As Bob Marley says, when you smoke the herb, it introduces you to yourself. It changes your awareness of your own consciousness. This awareness, this conscious of being conscious effect, is a really cool part of being human. It can be very terrible, though, if part of that consciousness has to dwell continuously on suffering. This can be a very terrible thing to be human when you have to dwell on suffering consciously and continuously. And it is to that end, effect, that people, especially like the veterans, they try and kill themselves. Why are they trying to kill themselves, do you suspect, right? What's up? Hey, you know, it's a pretty shitty world at the moment with the rain and the ice age and stuff, but it's something cool to get into and see about and get through. It's an experience. So the veterans, they've had a terrible time. Their consciousness is conscious of its suffering, of their suffering continuously, and it can't separate itself from its suffering. And so the idea is that, oh, well, I'll, perhaps, perhaps to dream, rather than suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Perhaps it would be better to kill yourself, basically, is what they're discussing in the Hamlet soliloquy there. But the point of my bringing this up is that consciousness doesn't change. When you kill yourself, your consciousness goes on to do the processing that you were too chicken shit to deal with here. And pardon my language. I understand suffering, okay? I understand suffering. So my harshness about it is deliberate. The same way that when you're doing Zazen meditation and your body is aching and your knees are about ready to scream in agony and draw your consciousness back to where the body thinks it should be, someone comes along and whacks you really hard with a switch right across the back of your shoulders. That's Zazen meditation, and you needed that whack with the stick right then to refocus you back on what you were doing, so that you could get away from the rest of it, from the body complaints, from the pull that the environment has on you. Now, all meditation is basically a flawed system. It won't alter your consciousness. It won't save you from this. But it will give you strength. It gives you tools that allow you to manage your body, manage your brain, manage your mind. And so meditation is an extremely worthwhile practice, even for those who are, especially for those who are contemplating suicide. If you're thinking you're going to do it, hey guy, you'd better get your shit together before you do that suicide act, right? Because it takes a lot to go through with it, and once you're done with that suicide act, hey, there you are. You're dead. And you better understand what happens when you're dead and what your consciousness has to deal with then. Because everything you're repressing now, you're going to go through on the other side of the death barrier. Now, this is the option, see? You can stay here and you can tough it out. You can say, I'm one mean son of a bitch and I'm going to integrate all of this suffering in me, eat it, I'm going to eat my suffering, and I'm going to contain it, and I'm going to grow from it. I'm going to have this Zen ideal, this hardness about it. And when I go to the other side of death, hey, it's pleasant, it's nice, I can coast. A little tiny bit in hell, and then right off into heaven. Because I don't have to deal with it, because I've taken the suffering, I've eaten it here. I didn't try and bail on it. I understand suffering limits, everybody has their own. I'm not trying to be prejudicial. If you have to, you have to. Every person has their own destiny. But this is it about consciousness. When you kill yourself, you don't end consciousness. You are consciousness then, because you don't even have the distractions of the body. You don't have the distractions of the rain, of the material. See, that's it about death. There's no movement, there's no dirt, there's no particles, there's no perception of any kind of thing that we see in the materium. It is an entirely different expression of our consciousness. It's an entirely different experience of consciousness. And when you're dead, you want to be alive because you don't have the distractions when you're dead of all of this physical matter and the sensation and feeling this way. So bear that in mind. Consciousness can't be altered, can't be destroyed, can't be contained, suppressed, or anything. You can hassle a personality, you can destroy a personality, you can alter awareness, you can destroy a brain, but the underlying consciousness is in no way altered, and it goes on. So don't listen to the people saying that, we're going to raise up your consciousness here, or any of that kind of stuff. It's bullshit. The words are misleading. They couldn't alter their own consciousness, nor could they destroy yours or change it in any way, shape, or form. And you don't have to trust me on this. You can go on out and try and repeat what I did in my youth. You can spend a few years taking every psychedelic drug you can get hold of in vast quantities to see what happens. It may not be good for you. But on the other hand, for some people it is. And for some of us it's a necessary path. It had to occur. Even though there are those that are saying, oh, well, it was all engineered by the CIA and they introduced all the drugs into society to begin the degradation and the change the same way that certain kinds of in classes of alcohol were introduced into France and other drugs were introduced into Russia prior to those revolutions. And, they could be well correct. Doesn't mean universe and the materium are not using the CIA for its own purpose, right? It's a level of depth of experience that gets into an interpretation, and it's the ability to take those levels down into the rabbit hole that basically say whether the personality was enhanced in any way by the experience. So even though the CIA may have been out there pumping drugs through the society and caused all different kinds of mayhem, I'm quite sure that the mayhem would have existed without the CIA one way or another, because it appears to be necessary that a certain amount of mayhem and suffering and despair and misery exist in universe in order for us to get our karmic bags moving and deal with shit, right? Otherwise we'd be too complacent, sit around on the beach eating bananas, do a lot of surfing, that sort of thing. And I'm all for that. So anyway, that's my rant on consciousness. Now, it also goes to ascension, right? Remember, there is no such thing as ascension. If anybody tells you we're going to ascend into the fifth density, don't believe them. They're not ascending into anything. It's cold out here. I've got the lights on and so on, charging up the battery, so I don't want to run the heater and so forth. I'm going to get an external heater for it. We're going to need it, it looks like. It actually has a propane one, but there's always the monoxide issues with those. Anyway, the idea of ascension is bullshit. The planet is not going to ascend when the sun does some weird-ass shit this year. Going from including any kind of density is adding yet another density into what we've already got. So fifth density is more dense. So if anything, you would descend, not ascend. And I guess that's the end of the rant for the day.